For as long as I can remember, my parents' marriage has been happy and stable. They were high school sweethearts and my dad proposed to her at their senior prom, or so they say. Nowadays they're your stereotypical old couple, just as in love as the day they married. For Thanksgiving, one of my friends bought DNA kits for our whole friend group. He's super into genealogy and family trees, and wanted to share his hobby, I guess. I just got my results back, and my biological father was found. Except, he's not the man who I grew up calling my dad, he's some rando from New Jersey. He hasn't reached out to me, and I have no intention of reaching out to him. I have to admit, he does look like me, but he doesn't look like my sister at all. That means that either my sister is my dad's real daughter, or that my mom cheated multiple times. I do know that my dad's family has a history of fertility issues and that his identical twin brother can't have kids at all. I don't want to blow up my parents' lives, and regardless of my DNA, my dad is still my dad. He raised me and loved me like his own, and that's all that matters to me. But there's a voice in the back of my mind telling me to tell my dad he deserves to know that his wife cheated and that he raised another man's child. But then, will he ever look at me the same? What if he disowns me out of rage? And what about my mom? She lives off his pension and home business. But she's a cheater, so maybe I shouldn't consider her feelings. I don't know, I had to tell someone so I figured Reddit might be a good place. I'm going to think about what I should do for a while before taking any drastic action. I have the power to destroy my parents' lives and I don't take that lightly. Update alright, so first off, I just want to say y'all were half right. Secondly, I want to explain in more depth why I didn't think it could be a sperm donor. My family, my dad especially, hold honesty as one of, if the, highest values. The angriest I've ever seen my dad was when I covered up a bad grade in high school. Now, he never hit me, or even really came close, but he shouted and made me feel like a piece of shit. My point is that lying is considered the greatest sin in my dad's eyes. He always told me that a man is only as good as his word. The thought of my dad keeping something like that from me was nearly unthinkable. The reason I went straight to cheating rather than something like SA was that I don't look at all like my dad. Because of this, my cousins teased me my whole childhood. They called my mom a whore behind her back, and combined with my rocky relationship with my mom, this made me always suspect that my mom had cheated. The DNA tests only confirmed my suspicions, which is why I was so adamant that that's what happened. Now, with a clearer head, I realize how those biases were affecting my judgment. Anyway, I called my mom the other day and explained about the DNA test. She chuckled, and instead of confessing to cheating like I thought she would, or to using a sperm donor like you guys thought she would, she said to me, "I guess we couldn't keep this forever. Okay, I guess it's time you knew." And then proceeded to tell me this absolutely wild story. She told me what I'd already guessed about my dad's fertility, that he's completely unable to have biological kids. Apparently, my parents didn't have the cash to pay for a sperm donor or an adoption, but they wanted a kid more than anything in the world. What they agreed to do was for my mom to drive to the next state over and have unprotected intercourse with men in the hopes she'd get pregnant. Apparently, she tried to choose guys who had similar features to my dad so that the extended family wouldn't get suspicious. Luckily for my parents, my sister came out looking like a clone of my mom. 3 years later, my parents did the same thing, and that's where I came from. As I said before, I look nothing like my dad. I do have some features from my mom's side of the family, but absolutely none from my dad's side. Other than that, I have lots of freckles, and so do my dad and a few of his relatives. Turns out, my biological father is also covered in freckles. I asked my mom if my sister knows, and she said that my sister doesn't know. My mom asked me for help telling my sister, because my sister has been hinting that she wants a DNA test before having kids, which she wants to have soon. I agreed. I'll be going over to my sister's place to talk to her soon, and the current plan is to have my parents on Zoom. I don't think I'll be updating again, so get your "I told you so" out of the way now. Now on to the second story. TLDR, my daughters are entitled and are making the upcoming trip a nightmare. I have two daughters, 14F and 16F. We decided to go to New Zealand for summer vacation. It's summer for us, we haven't been able to go on much vacations before, so all of us were really excited. We booked a nice hotel and planned to visit many places. We planned to book one room for me and my husband and booked another room for my daughters with connecting doors. I didn't see a problem, but my daughters want their own room and want privacy and think it's unfair that they have to share, but they are barely going to be spending any time in their rooms. They would only use it for changing and sleeping, so I told them to just deal with it. The room would have a double bed, so I didn't see an issue. My daughter wants us to get a triple suite with 3 rooms or just book another room so both of them can have their own rooms, but it would cost quite a lot more money. We could afford it, but I don't think the extra privacy is worth it as they won't really use their rooms much, so I told them no. Now they are upset with me, and my husband and his mother are saying we should maybe pay the extra money for another room. Should I just buy another room? Update: I talked to my daughters last night and I showed them some of the comments. I told them that they weren't getting another room unless they could pay for it themselves. The 14-year-old could do babysitting or part-time jobs around the neighborhood, and the 16-year-old could get a part-time job, and I would take how much ever money they earn until they pay off the hotel bill. Both my daughters were strongly opposed and didn't want to work. I ended up telling that either they share a room, pay for it themselves, or just not go. We could afford to buy them the room, but I feel like they are already spoiled. They never had to share a room on a vacation before, as we always used to book a suite when going on vacation, but we haven't been abroad in years, and the trip to New Zealand is already expensive and we don't want to spend more money, even if we can afford it. I talked to my husband and I managed to convince him to not give in. We told our daughters firmly it wasn't happening. We haven't booked the tickets yet, and we told them if they kept complaining they wouldn't be included and they would have to stay at grandma's, where they would also have to share a guest room. They want to stay home alone, but I don't think it's a good idea, so I refused. They reluctantly agreed to come. Relevant comments: they reluctantly agreed. At this point, I would just park their asses at grandma's house. With their attitudes, they will probably make sure the trip is miserable. LOL. 16 and 14 wanting to stay home alone? I can't see anything going wrong with that. Honestly, I think this was their plan from the start. Make such a fuss. The parents say they can't come, so they conveniently get to stay home alone and party. They didn't factor in grandma's guest room. My parents let my older sister stay home from a family vacation. And that's how they became grandparents in their 40s. OP's response: I don't feel comfortable with leaving them with no supervision for a whole week while we are abroad, and they have broken my trust before. Update: we booked the tickets and we ended up not including the daughters, mainly because they just kept complaining. Last night, they came to ask me why I wouldn't buy it if I can't afford it, and why can't they stay home alone. They said, why don't you guys care about our comforts and privacy, and you'll ruin the trip because we won't even have our own rooms, which is a basic comfort. They tried to convince us to let us stay home alone, but the last time I did that my oldest threw a party, so I don't trust them, and even if I did, I don't feel comfortable leaving them alone for a whole week. They threw another tantrum and I just told them they wouldn't be coming, and it was final. I was going to leave them at my MIL, but she wants to take our daughters on a 4-day trip to Sydney where they will get their own rooms. She did this, make up for us ruining the daughters' trip by making them share a room and excluding them if they didn't, but I just told her no because I've spoiled them too much and I'm not rewarding a tantrum. My sister didn't want to take them, but my brother agreed to take them, so I'll be leaving them there, where one of them has to sleep on the couch and the other on an air mattress, as they don't have an extra room. My daughters have complained, but they aren't coming. This will probably be my final update. Thanks. Now on to the third story. TLDR, my son's stepmom keeps walking around in her underwear when she is alone with him. My ex-husband and I have been divorced since our son was 7 years old. My ex-husband is remarried and he and his wife have 2 young kids. We have shared custody of our son and he lives at both houses. My son and I, have never had any issues with his stepmom. He likes her. I'm not friends with her, but I felt like I could trust her with taking care of my son when he's with them. I was comfortable with her being this extra parental figure in his life and have felt thankful that my ex-husband married her. They got married when our son was 10, but he was 8 when he first met her. Over winter break, my son and I were at home watching something, and at a part where a woman was in her bra and underwear. No, we weren't watching anything inappropriate, just a normal TV show. He said that his stepmom had started walking around in her bra and underwear when he's over there. She'll walk around the living room or across the house to supposedly go get something from another room and have nothing but a bra and a thong on. He was like, it's weird. I asked if she has always done this, and he said no, only recently. He says every time it happens she acts like she does it all the time and she just forgot that he was in the house. But then he said one time she made him and his 2 younger siblings dinner while wearing nothing but her underwear and a tiny silk robe, untied. She's also sat next to him on the couch in just her underwear and asked him to rub her feet, which he refused. He says it's really weird and uncomfortable, like she's just waiting for his reaction, and it never seems to be accidental. Curiously, these accidents only happen when his dad isn't there. He hasn't mentioned it at all to his dad. He also asked me if I noticed how much she's changed her appearance, and now his friends think she's hot, and it's why he's mainly started to only invite his friends to my house. She used to be more soccer mom-like. Never unattractive, but just like a young mom. Now it's like she's trying to appear super sexy all the time, which I have noticed, but thought maybe it was just the result of wanting to feel good about herself after having 2 kids. There's nothing wrong with changing your appearance, but it seems to coincide with this new inappropriate behavior around my son. Try to get a reaction out of your husband, not his 15-year-old son. He asked me to promise to not say anything to his dad or stepmom because it'll make things awkward, but I can't not say anything. Normally I like to be somebody he feels he can talk to in confidence, but this just makes me too uncomfortable to not address. It sounds to me like she's intentionally doing this, and I can't for a second believe it's accidental. One time, maybe, but making a whole meal dressed like that? Relevant comments tell him to set up a nanny cam. The husband won't believe your son otherwise. OP's response: it's funny, when I asked him why he hadn't told his dad any of this, he said he won't believe me. That, and I'd let him know they had to take the extra steps of camera because his own so knew he wouldn't believe him. Which is fucking bullshit. Seriously. Poor kid. He shouldn't have to feel like that. Glad mom listens and he feels comfortable enough with her to tell her. OP's response: his dad tends to live in denial that anything bad is ever going to happen to his loved ones. He thinks everyone is exaggerating anything whenever something negative could be happening. I think it's how he copes, mentally, but it's very frustrating. When we were married and I needed serious medical testing done, he just kept telling me, it's nothing, it's nothing. It's not that he doesn't care, but it's like he can't admit something bad could be happening in his life. He's being harassed by his father's pedophilic wife. It's the advice he needs before she tries to sleep with him, then accuse him of assaulting her when he rejects her. OP's response: wow, I hadn't even thought of her doing something like that. This is all just so bizarre. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with each other in the comments below. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, Corner Stories signing off.